Good morning. My name is Nate Jones, and I have the honor of being your worship associate this morning. We welcome everyone here and online to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Roanoke, with a special welcome to those who are joining for the first time. We hope you stay after the service for coffee in the fellowship hall. We're going to take a second and stand up and connect with our friends who are watching online. So if you just stand up and wave to the folks on camera. Perfect. For those of you who are online who wish to share your joys or concerns during the Lifelines portion of the service, please put them in the chat in the next 15 minutes. Our minister is the Reverend Walter LaFleur, and today's sermon is Where True Nourishment Lies. If you would please take a moment to put your mind, body, and soul and cell phone into worship mode. I stole that from Bill Bestpitch. Please join me in reciting our words of welcome. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you express your identity, whatever your situation in life, whatever your experience of the holy, as you come seeking love, your presence here is a gift. Whether you are filled with sadness or overflowing with joy, needing to be alone with yourself or eager to engage others, all who welcome all are welcome here. And our covenant, we commit to supporting each other with respect and direct communication as we work in community to explore spiritual growth and to be a force for good in the world.
Good morning, everybody. Our opening music is Gather the Spirit. And if you look beside you or under you, you might notice that you have a hymnal because we're all going to sing together. This is hymn 347, Gather the Spirit. You want to stand? There. Gather the Spirit, harvest the bomb of separate fires, kindle one flame, witness the mystery of the soul, unfolding this light, appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit of heart and mind, sing on our soul, we are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be back. And only a few of you look older. I feel older. Our opening words this morning come from an anonymous author. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Our chalice lighting words come from Marjorie Montgomery. She said, "Life is a gift for which you are grateful, or for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this gift."
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our hearts to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of love.
Good morning. My name is Jessie. I'm the director of Lifespan Faith Development, and I'm in a different spot today. Some of you might be used to me sitting over here having a conversation with my younger friends, but today I have a conversation for everyone. Today we have the blessing of our backpacks. Now, raise your hand if you can remember carrying a backpack full of books. Maybe it was a satchel, maybe it was on your back, maybe you were like me and you had your backpack on, but all your books were in your arms because you couldn't be bothered to stop and put your books in your backpack. Go ahead and raise those hands. How many of you brought your backpacks or your work bags this morning? So today is a very special day. School either started last week or is starting this week. Some of you are teachers. Some of you, we have everybody from the person who makes sure that the toilets are working to the person who makes sure that the students are working in this congregation. And what we do every year is we bless those bags because they carry your schoolwork. They carry other people's schoolwork. They carry all your food that you take to school. They carry everything back and forth from that learning environment. And the theme for this year is actually one of our hymns. It's hymn number 311, and it's Let It Be a Dance. And what this story is that we want everything to be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard in the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. And we, UUCR, want to dance with you. If you have a bad day at school, we will dance that out with you just as much as we want to celebrate you getting top marks on your math test. And to remind you of that, we have some buttons that you can put on your backpack. You can put them up on if you wear bows in your hair, you can put it on the thing where you keep your bows so you can see it every day. You can put it on your lunch bag. If you want to, you can even put it on the inside of something so it's just a message for you from us. This goes to everyone who is in the educational system, whether you are teaching kindergarten or you are working at Hollins University. We want you to have one of these buttons. Even if you're a virtual student or virtual instructor, we want you to have one of these buttons. So I'm going to ask Emma, Kevin, and Damien to come and grab our baskets of buttons. And if you are one of those folks, whether you have your backpack with you or not, please let us know that you need a button, and we will give you one of those buttons. You can just raise your hand for those. James needs one. And as our last folks are getting their buttons, I want to also remind you that there are plenty where these came from. Sometimes things happen during the school year. And if you ever need to replace that button, we will give you that button and we'll also give you a hug. Thank you guys so much. We know that the work that you do throughout this year, whether you are a student, an educator, support staff, what you do is so important to the future of this church, of Roanoke, of Virginia, and of this world. So thank you so much for the work that you do while you're learning and while you're growing and while you're helping other folks grow and learn. Be blessed. And now, those who are in Jedi Academy are going to go learn some lightsaber maneuvers.
Today's reading is Unlearning Back to God from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. Each person is born with an unencumbered spot, free of expectation and regret, free of ambition and embarrassment, free of fear and worry, an umbilical spot of grace where we're each first touched by God. It is this spot of grace that issues peace. Psychologists call this spot the psyche, theologians call it the soul, Jung calls it the seat of unconsciousness, Hindu masters call it Atman, Buddhists call it Dharma, Rilke calls it inwardness, Sufis call it Qalb, and Jesus calls it the center of our love. To know this spot of inwardness is to know who we are, not by surface markers of identity, not by where we work or what we wear or how we like to be addressed, but by feeling our place in relation to the infinite and by inhabiting it. This is a hard, lifelong task, for the nature of becoming is a constant filming over of where we begin, while the nature of being is a constant erosion of what is non-essential. Each of us lives in the midst of this ongoing tension, growing tarnished or covered over time, only to be worn back to the incorruptible spot of grace at our core. When the film is worn through, we have moments of enlightenment, moments of wholeness, moments of satori, as the Zen sage masters term it, moments of clear living where inner meets outer, moments of full integrity of being, moments of complete oneness. And whether the film is a veil of culture, of memory, of mental or religious training, of trauma or sophistication, the removal of that film and the restoration of the timeless spot of grace is the goal of all therapy and education. Regardless of subject matter, this is the only thing worth teaching: how to uncover the original center and how to live there once it is restored.
You must learn a new way to think before you can master a new way to be. You must learn a new way to think before you can master a new way to be. Those are words of Marianne Williamson. She's an author, spiritual teacher, and you may or may not remember an erstwhile presidential candidate. As I planned the service for this week, I knew I wanted to focus our attention on nourishing and feeding the soul, nourishing and feeding spirit. You know, it's that deep sense of self, however you choose to name that part of us that is unique and foundational to who we are. I wanted to focus on the need to be intentional in nourishing what we call self. Self with a capital S, not to be confused with the externally focused thing we call ego. Self, ego, they're not the same. I was reminded of the old saying, we teach that which we need to learn. During the week, I ran across that statement, basically by accident. It jumped out at me, not to be missed. When these things happen, I often think of them as a message from the universe. It seemed perfect, as I had been wrestling with how to talk about the need for spiritual nourishment. You must learn a new way to think before you can master a new way to be. Gave me the answer. It gave me a different way to frame the subject. I had been thinking about the what of nourishing. Williamson asked me to consider the how, not just the what, of feeding our souls. We spend so much of our lives focused on the what's of life. What's for dinner? What should I be doing now? What's the right answer? And all too often, what will they think of me? We act as if getting the kids to soccer or horseback riding or to their friend's house to play is one of the most important things for parents to do. We act as if getting one more email read or written is one of the most important things on our today's agenda. We act as if making a good salary is somehow a true reflection of who we are as a person, as if having a degree of some kind is a reflection of who we are and increases our value in the world. Now, I don't want you to get this wrong or get me wrong. These things are, in fact, worthy of our attention. All these things are good things to do. Such things may even make a difference in our lives and in the lives of our loved ones. But none of them are central to our very being. All those things exist in the external world. Anything that is primarily externally oriented is ultimately about satisfying the ego. It's about that part of us which lives in the world of comparisons. There's very little in our everyday culture that supports going deeper in search of our innermost selves. Maybe, in largest measure, that's a result of the influences of our Christian heritage. We're taught that Christianity says God, Jesus, and heaven should be our primary and ultimate focus. And I think that's a distortion of the Christian message, the essential Christian message. I think it's a distortion created by the institutions of Christianity. Churches, creeds, and dogma came into existence long after the life and death of Jesus. They don't necessarily reflect the pure and fundamental teaching of Jesus because they are significantly influenced by the need to maintain an institution. I think the essential Christian message is to love thy neighbor, to love thy neighbor as thyself, to care for the least of them, to welcome the stranger. Not so much for the neighbor's benefit, but for the nourishment of our own very soul, our very own soul, so that we can come closer to walking in Jesus's footsteps, nourishing our soul in order to come closer to the image of God. The biblical message is often about doing what is right, doing what's good. But the doing is a particular kind of doing. The doing is ultimately about managing our own behavior, managing our own thoughts. Take a log out of your own eye that you might better see the speck in your neighbor's. Reaching beyond cultural norms, whereby Jews and Samaritans despise each other, yet the good Samaritan offers care to an injured Jew. I had thought about having us sing Holy, Holy, Holy in our hymnal this morning to reach beyond some of our typical UU cultural norms, not be constrained by those who might have unease with the religious, that is, religious with a capital R, or with the divine. I would have had to let go of my concern for offending. I would have had to make the conscious decision that those who would be uncomfortable singing that hymn, even with its UU sanitized wording, would survive the experience. We'll get there someday. And those of you open to having the hymn feed you would be gifted this morning, would have been gifted this morning had I made a different decision. I among them. As it reminds me of my early years of church, I was saved the risk by the existence of COVID. I didn't know that we were back to singing communally. But I want to be clear. I believe seeking true nourishment is of greater value than efforts to avoid potential dis-ease. Seeking true nourishment is of greater value than efforts to avoid potential dis-ease. That seeking inclusion is of greater value than risking exclusion. That the acceptance of one another is a manifestation of valuing the inherent worth and dignity of another. That respect for the interconnectedness of all existence does not require our personal judgment of any of its parts. We need to learn to think differently. We need to think more about what feeds us and less about other people's expectations. We need to learn to place less importance on knowledge and more on doing. more on experience. Focus less on the future and more on the here and now. The here and now. This moment. This very moment. And on this moment. The Buddhist approach in this regard is very valuable, I think. The practice of yoga is an excellent method of learning to change the way we have been culturally taught to think. It's a way of exploring what exists beyond thought, what exists beyond our concepts. It opens us to be receptive to what we might call spirit, what we might call mystery, or simply open to what is. There is relatively little in our culture that supports going deeper in search and exploration of our innermost selves. Earlier, I laid this tendency at the feet of a distorted interpretation of Christianity. But it's more than that. It's also a product of modernity. The modern world, the Western world, places an undue emphasis on rational thought, on logic. The soul, the spirit, our deeper sense of self are not notions easily amenable to logic and rational thought. How does one rationally speak of a soul? How does one begin to prove or even define this thing we call spirit? We know of life and we know of death. We know there is a body, but we know virtually nothing about what precedes birth. We know little to nothing about what happens after death. Whatever there is to be said about it is conjecture. I know of no one who's come back to tell the story, though there are stories of those who've come back to share their experience. We attend to diets, our weight, exercise, and the like, but we often don't attend to our spirits. We often don't attend to our spirits, our deep sense of self, however that part of us is named. We too often act as if it doesn't really matter, that it will all simply take care of itself. Yet, we know there are things in our lives that nurture us, truly nurture us. The nourishment I'm talking about is not the same as good food. It's not the same as a good night's rest. It's not even the same as a much. I'm talking about those things that feed our soul, that feeds our spirit. Maybe it's a walk in nature, or sitting at the seaside listening to the waves. Maybe it's being fully engaged with music, playing, listening, singing. Maybe it's a good massage or working in the garden, as it is for me. We've all had the experience of being revitalized by an encounter or an engagement of some sort. Perhaps a meaningful encounter with a dear friend or loved one. Perhaps it's an encounter with ourselves during a yoga session. Maybe it's the experience of our own reaction to being engaged with a rainbow, engaged with the sunset, or engaged with the storm. Often, the feelings, the sensations that are experienced cannot easily be named. We can't predict such experiences, but once discovered, we know of their existence. We can be open to such experiences. We can know where to go in search of them and have the wisdom to search for them. Like meditation, these experiences can be beneficial. They can have a beneficial effect. They lower blood pressure. They calm the mind. They enliven our sense of being alive. They can induce a sense of bliss. So I urge you to be intentional. Be intentional. Seek to nourish your soul. Seek to nourish your spirit, your deep sense of self. It will make you feel more alive. It will help you be a happier person. And it will make those around you feel more at ease as well. Such nourishment can come as a surprise, it can come as a gift, or it can be sought, planned, and encouraged. It may require that you learn a new way to think about being in the world. It may require that you make self-nourishment a priority in your life, which is fundamentally different than trying to find the time for it. They're not the same. There's always time to feed and care for yourself. If we think of it as a priority, there will always be time enough. But you must not think of it as a selfish act. Ultimately, it's anything but. It's the most effective way to live into our belief in inherent worth and dignity. It demonstrates the power of that belief. It's the doorway to experience of the interconnected web. So I urge you to choose self-care. Choose self-care. Choose to feed your spirit. And when you do, I'm sure you'll be glad you did. And I would bet my bottom dollar others will be glad you did too. Blessings on your searching. The world that we occupy, we need to feed our bodies and we need to feed the work of this congregation. Offering will be gratefully received.
Breathe in, breathe I'll breathe in peace when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Thank you. It's good that we get together, and it's good that we fund our work. Blessings.
Good morning. I'm Sally Garber, representing the Caring Committee this morning. As you know, one of the things we do is record the current concerns of the congregation in Lifelines. If you have a concern or a joy that you'd like to share, please take the time to call the church office or a member of the Caring Committee so we can share it on Sunday in the morning. Thank you so much. I have a couple things I'd like to share with you this morning. One of them is, I hope that you will please hold Robin Poteet and Kirk Ballin in your thoughts and prayers this week. Robin's mother passed away this week. Mrs. Price, a member of the larger community, asked to be held in prayer as she's recovering from a fall. So please also do that. Let me remind you that if you have a joy or concern, please do write it in this book or give us a call. One more reminder. If you have a joy or concern that you're holding in your heart, please take the time to come forward and light a candle, and please use both sides of the altar. Thank you.
No matter where you go, no matter where you've been, you'll never walk alone. I feel you deep within. I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love. No matter what you feel or what you choose to show, I'm always there for you, and so I want you to know. I'm sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending
start.
Our prayer this morning are the words from Howard Thurman, and he entitles it, "In the Inward Sea." There is in every person an inward sea, and in that sea there is an island, and on that island there is an altar, and standing guard before that altar is the angel with the flaming sword. Nothing can get past that angel to be placed upon that altar unless it has the mark of your inner authority. Nothing passes the angel with the flaming sword to be placed upon your altar unless it be a part of the fluid areas of your consent. This is the crucial link with the eternal. Amen.
I'm here on behalf of the auction committee. If you have received an Evite and have not responded, please do so, whether you're coming or not. The auction takes service auctions, which will be November 11th this year. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of work. So even if you're not coming, we need to know that so we can prepare for tables, chairs, food, the whole kit and caboodle, everything. Now, about the auction, I'm not going to bore you with a very well coverage in your bulletin. The auction is it's a lot of fun. It's a good way to meet your fellow members of the church, outside the church, in their homes in many cases. It's just a lot of fun. Plus, every penny, money that is raised by this auction goes directly to the church. Every bit. So that's why it's an important fundraiser for us. If you have an item you want to donate, if you have a service you want to donate, the donation forms are being laying in the foyer, out at the beginning at the table in the front. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Sarah Divers is also on the auction committee, and between the two of us, two brains can come up with something. Yeah. Who? Oh, that's right. Okay, we will figure out and help you in any way we can. I hope you can come November 11th. It's a lot of fun. It also is a good fundraiser for the church. Thank you very much.
So we've got a couple of other announcements as well. The members of the endowment committee want to remind you that fall applications for grants for the Mission and Ministry Fund are due September 15th. The next grant opportunity will be in early 2024, when we will be accepting applications throughout February. You can find information about the M&M Fund and a link to a printable application form on the UUCR website. And there's some directions in your bulletin. While you're there, you can learn more about our activities and maybe even spur you to contribute to one or more of the endowment funds. A group of dedicated volunteers from UUCR helped prepare and serve lunches at Ram House on the last Saturday of each month. Ram House has scheduled an event to honor volunteers and supporters on October 26th. They have asked us to contribute a gift basket from our congregation for a silent auction during the event. We are looking for donations to create a pickleball-themed basket. If you can help, please bring your items to the church no later than October 15th, and you can contact Bill Bestpitch with questions. The Connections team and the Ushers team are looking for a few good volunteers. Connection team needs greeters, and the Ushers team needs ushers. Uh, surprise. Both jobs are limited to an occasional Sunday morning. No meetings to attend or training is provided. This is an easy way to serve your church and community and to get to know people. If you're interested, contact Chris Yates for the greeters and Judy Nelson for the ushers. That's it.
So the closing song is When the Spirit Says Do. And if you were with us in during COVID, you may have seen this amazing video that the choir made. I think it starred Jim Baxter, who's no longer with us, but he was like the only guy there that day. So he hammed it up. And actually, other churches have asked permission to use this video in their services. So it's been seen. Y'all are famous. But anyway, we're going to sing When the Spirit Says Do. It's a zipper song, which means that every verse and chorus is the same except one word. And you will hear that key word. And there are only going to be 3, so it's easy to remember. And you can join us in the chorus, which is the words are Spirit says, and whatever the word is, Spirit says, and whatever the word is. So I think that you'll catch on quite quickly. Can we stand?
Do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing no more. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you got to dance. So long, you got to dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 Spirit says dance.
Go into your week and speak in peace and share of what you have been giving. For the world is in need. Go into your week in peace.
Dearly, if I don't let you down.